front of you, you have your competent leader manuals. So for some of you, it's on page 19, and others,
Handed it all.
if you handed it all.
Handed it off already.
And we're going to be talking about feedback and giving feedback, and what's so important about that. It's interesting because as a coach, certified coach, I know that one big thing that we do really well as coaches is the ability we have to let somebody know how we feel about them, or if they're asking for some improvement, how do we deliver that information? Now, whether it's a son, a partner, or anybody else, giving feedback has a process. So today, I'd like to offer up two things, is go through the 7 points that are in your manual, and I've actually jazzed them up a little differently. And also, I'm going to finish up with, imagine that Terry Lynn, or the next speaker maybe not next week, but the week after, says, I want a certain kind of feedback, in this case, Jacques. I've actually given you a handout from a manual that Toastmaster delivers. It's a book called Effective Speech Evaluation. And not now, but maybe later, when you're going to be speaking the next time, you want to take a look at what can you do as a speaker to make sure that you get the proper feedback to you. Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, today actually, our table topics will have a component of feedback. Now, does everyone love feedback?
Yes.
I'm hearing some yes and no, right? It needs to be managed in a certain way. Now, the first thing that we have, and how to give meaningful feedback, is to be specific. We have to be asking questions around the behavior and not the person. In other words, I'll say, Terry Lynn, gosh, your hair is very long today. Making it personal, or you're not wearing your glasses, or whatever comment I made. Well, I get kind of personal there, right? But the thing is, we need to, when we're giving feedback, is really talk more about the behavior and not the personal item that we've tracked. So it's not about the person, but it's the behavior, whether you walked in a certain way or you moved a certain way. So it's really about more of the behavior. Now, what's important, and this is a process, is if we're getting some feedback or delivering feedback, the next thing is we have to say, gosh, I'm going to use this as an example, Terry Lynn.
That's okay.
Your hair is really bugging me, right? Well, it has to, yeah, sorry. But the thing is, you have to indicate, how is it impacting me? In other words, when we're giving some evaluation to somebody, we have to talk about how is that impacting? It's not only the observation, but also the delivery of impact. Now here's the big ticket. Now we've talked about active listening, is that when we are in that place of giving feedback, don't you just want to jump in there right away, most of the time, and not even hear the other person? I don't know about you, but I do a lot of that. And I've learned that back off and really listen, and not jump in there right away and say what I need to do or think or say. Now, I've got some timing, 5 to 7 minutes. In that 5 minutes, I'll get probably the green and the yellow. At 6 and 7, I'll finish up at the red. Now, here's the interesting thing is, part number 4 is making a request. So how often do we make a request and say, well, gosh, Terry Lynn, and I'm using this as just a really simple, I really would like to have I would make a request that you put your hair up when you're making food, right? So an example is that we have to make a request. And the thing is, I'm not sure if anybody's ever studied nonviolent communication or any other forms of communication, but definitely making a request is super important because we need to make sure that we are heard, and we also qualify that with, I need a specific change to happen. Now, in coaching, if you were certified with the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, part of the process is you set a goal. So in other words, you say you need to put your hair up when you're prepping food. And, well, you also have to have an actionable, what I call accountability. When will you know and how will you know that that action has been taken? I'm not sure how it would work if you give them that kind of parameter to it. But you need to say, how will I know how will I know that you've got your hair up? Or how will I know that you've got the job done? Or how do I know that that next job will be on time? That is a metric that's really important also in giving feedback. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes you'll see that done in a Toastmaster way where when we give feedback, we say, well, I would have liked to have heard your voice louder, just like this. So we demonstrate and say, what do we need and how do you want it? And how do you know that you've got it? Well, we probably all heard about the end being a positive thing. So when we give feedback, we do the grow point, feed in the middle, and the sandwich, a bit of relish, ketchup and mustard, which is basically what we need to have. And there are a couple of points to maybe grow. And again, that's another thing you need to do is ask a person, like today, Terry Lynn could have asked Jacques, you know what, Jacques, I just want 2 grow points today, or I want 3. I know Chad. Chad is super competitive, and he's I want to have 5 points or maybe exaggerating, but he likes to have that kind of substance. But it's not everybody that wants to have 5 points. So we need to end it, wrap it at the end with that relished moment of positive thing about what we just did. Now the 7th point is, I call it gratitude. Some of us can call it celebrating, some of us can call it saying thanks. But how often when somebody's changed their feedback, and now, gosh, Terry Lynn is now putting her hair up, do I say to her as a follow-up, gosh, Terry Lynn, I really enjoy your hair, or I know this is a trivial kind of example, but we need to give feedback and thanks to somebody that has given us a time and, you know, basically has said to us, listen, I'm going to take this action for you, or you've asked me to do this. We need a follow-up that says and states, thank you. I'm noticing, Jill, that you're actually speaking and you're doing the mission all the time. Remember when you weren't doing the mission? Now, one thing I might have forgotten is basically you have to make a request for a change, but you have to be also making people feel good about themselves. So I'm finishing up on a positive note. My red-colored indicator is definitely telling me that I'm on track and I'm on time and I need to wrap things up. But those are the 7 points. So when we give feedback and we want that quality of life and those meaningful conversations, these are 7 little steps that we can take to have meaningful, transforming conversations. Well, Toastmasters. Yes.